Hope everybody's doing good. Um, yeah. So, yes, today we're going to talk about the Book of the Dead. Some people call it Solomon's Book, Solomon's Bible. Um, some people will call it Egyptian Book of the Dead. It has many names. Number one is the fun of when you watch this book and see, you can literally see where it goes throughout history. You can see that it starts out obviously in Egypt. It starts out as at Osiris's death when you're reading it. Um, and Anubis is basically doing a ritual on. Um, he needs Osiris's message, you know, after Set, has dismembered him and put his pieces around the corners of Egypt. Um, Set was a individual, and I believe that he did look like a dog. I believe that he probably had a couple of faces, and as did others. Um, I believe that they were the fallen angels that came down and were tasked with telling humanity how to live. That's why when you hear Set's story, it's so painful for the Jews. Always say that they were the slaves, they were the ones building the temples. I don't believe that because the blocks were so big that that's an impossibility to me. But who knows? I wasn't there, so maybe people were bigger in mass back then. Who knows? Or with magic, it's like maybe possible. Um, this specific book is very, very. It's real. It's the real thing. How do you know that? People are going to say. Let's just say that you know I had my fair share of learning the consequences of um, being a. How am I going to say this? Being a sensitive. Okay. Um, I don't call myself a psychic. Even if some things do happen, maybe it's just my ability to see what I'm supposed to see, and I'm able to make a prediction. I don't know if that's what I do, but maybe. So, the Book of the Dead, though, depends what you want. Now, Solomon was a very, very special individual, and if you listen to the story of Jesus, there's parts where Caiaphas or Caiaphas the elder will say, "Oh, Jesus has dispatched demons to heal these people." Blah blah blah. Well, that comes from the story of Solomon. When Solomon was dying, he said, "I did not work with holy beings. I believe that I worked with demons." And I think that part of that is that us not knowing the difference between um, good and bad at that time. And what I was getting to was, as Solomon passes away, right? Well, after Solomon dies, you can see where the book goes, and some people, you might know Solomon as the 13th son. They call him the 13th son because in the descendancy of Moses, you will see that Solomon is the 13th son. Before Moses, you go back and you get to Noah. Before Noah, you get to Enoch. And this book was stolen. That's what they say. This book was stolen during around the death of Osiris, and the story of the kid that worked with Horus to get Horus's eye back, and he was a slave. Okay, they say he was Jewish. Like I said, I don't know. Um, they say that in um, in consequence of this boy helping Horus, he was able to get his girlfriend back, who was dead. There's only one way that you could do that, and that was from the book. And you can bring the dead back, apparently. But you would need a god to do such. And Anubis was still alive, so that was a possibility. But the boy kept the book. Um, and that's when the descendancy start, okay? What you then see is that the book was saved until Solomon. Solomon made Israel the army of the world. If there was a definition of what the Jews wanted in a Messiah, Solomon might be the guy. If you look, he's not. The thing is, he's not from Bethlehem. That's the problem in this story. It has to be a son of Bethlehem under a certain star. So Solomon was not that, but Solomon did make Israel the powerhouse that the Jews expect when this Messiah comes back. But God works in mysterious ways. A Christ figure would show Jesus, as we call him. In my religion, Jesus used how would you say that? He used his death as a martyr, and the things that he did as a remembrance, so people would get the word around, and it got all the way to Rome, where even today that's the capital of Christianity, or the Catholic tradition. The Catholics, though, if you look at the traditions, they go by the Egyptian side of this, and that's not me. That's just knowing your history and going back and figuring it out. Again, the book itself is where we're going with this. The book starts out in Egypt, powerhouse. Then you see it go to, Italy, which is Rome. Then you see it go to Greece. You see it go from Greece, and when the story of 300, when that was lost, you then see it go to Persia. Now the split with Persia is, you can see that there's two halves of the book. The one half more or less goes to Christianity and the way of what we call the West, England and such. The other side goes to the Holy Land, okay, and the traditions of the Holy Land. And so, it's more or less obvious that Muhammad was using the Book of the Dead to do the things he did, which is fine. He was actually, must have been a very holy man, and probably no doubt a prophet, no doubt, with the things that he did. Again, this is all the lore leading up to the Book of the Dead. Now you can buy this book. I don't recommend anybody buying it, because it's very, very, you need to be a pure person. You can't be an adulterer, you can't be a drug addict, you can't be anything that's going to ruin your mind, body, or soul. You need to be one with your mind, and one with everything around you. This is very important, because when you're doing one ritual, is called 13th Sun. The 13th Sun ritual is for you get to meet your angel, like an archangel. You get to ask a question. You get to ask for a wish, which will be granted to you. So, like I was saying, hello? Mind, body, and soul, the ritual for the 13th Sun. If you do it right, you get to meet an angel. You're pretty much your archangel, and they're not nice, so don't pretend like they're gonna invite you in for tea and be happy about it. They're actually pretty annoyed, it seems like, when people do this. With every good side, there's a downside. They want you to learn a lesson. So, with what good that you've asked for, they're going to take from you as well. So you learned a lesson. Like I said, this is no joke. This is not like a fun thing. This is not something you do on the weekends. This is something that you need to be committed for, and it's not a children's game. Like I said, throughout time, you can see where this book's ended up. Half the world has it. Half the world knows about it. And it's ancient stuff. It's stuff that it's not really understandable to regular humans, and the deciphering of the book itself is still up in the air because they say that Set was from the northern part of that's where he was sent for the military. He was sent from the northern part of Africa. Um, Anubis was educated in the southern part of Africa, so um, a lot of people would believe that if Anubis was close to his father, then he would have had his father's vocabulary, which would have had slang from the north. There's others that would believe that he was educated in the south, so he would have the direct language of the Egyptians, and the book is as what it says. For the amount of bad that happens for the good, I'd be careful. I probably wouldn't take the chance again. I would probably leave it alone. Um, but don't take my word for it. I wouldn't read anything out. If you do decide to look into it, I would not read anything out loud. That's number one. If you are a person that is able to talk to, or the spirits want to talk to already, this is going to heighten that 1,000-fold. Like, you're going to feel it right away. You're going to know it. I did. I didn't need any sigils or anything like that. Like I said, I would say it, like, read it in your head. Don't say anything out loud. Don't be making sigils on the first day or anything like that. I'd recommend against that anyway. Don't do it for unholy reasons or anything like that, because the darkness that will follow is just, it's chaos. It is Set. You're dealing with a Egyptian god that was cast out. And Set, some people would say that the story of the war in heaven is from Setek, or Satan. Setek, Satan. His real name is Setek. That's how you say it. With the ears, people would say that probably was Satan. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. But the war that happened between his brother Horus and him seems a lot like the story in the Bible. So it's hard to say. I don't see Osiris being a god on Earth. I don't. That's not my tradition. But Ra being the god of everything, a one god tradition, maybe. I don't know. I just don't know. But there's a lot more that goes into it. You have the Indian side of it that, if you can't even figure out the Egyptian side, don't even try to get into the Indian side of it. It's all stuff that you just, it's hard to understand. So, just wanted to chat with you guys, let you all know it's Halloween about to be. And, I thought we'd have a little bit of fun today, so not that this is fun. Be careful. Alright.